Just so you know.
It's okay. It's a candid conversation, right? This is the theme.
Reality, I
Just in case.
understand.
Yeah. So, Julie, you can start whenever you feel ready. Yeah.
Great. Well, welcome everyone to this edition for our Candid Conversations. And today I am super happy and excited to have Kassandra with us. I've known Kassandra for quite some time. Lost, lost her a little bit, and then saw her again in another context that I thought was absolutely wonderful. And I'm really excited for all of you to hear what she has to say and to share a little bit about herself. So I won't go into a big introduction because I really want her to tell you, all of you, what she does and why she's so amazing, really, at the end of the day. So welcome, Kassandra.
Thank you so much, Julie. It's really nice to be here. It's really nice to do this with you. Like you said, we have a pretty long history, and I'm really happy to really be having this conversation with you. I'm grateful to BCRC as well for organizing this and doing all the meaningful work that they do. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So, well, let's get started. So first, Kassandra, can you maybe tell us a little bit more about who you are? What's your background? Because I know it's quite diverse. And what do you do right now with DESTA?
Sure. So my background I started in corporate marketing. So I did my bachelor's in marketing. I ended up doing my master's degree also in marketing. I did an MBA. I had I'd say medium length career in corporate marketing. And then at some point, I, um, I started to feel disconnected from what I was doing. And so I made a pretty risky career choice where I left my marketing career path to really learn a little bit more about myself. And in doing so, I discovered an aspect of myself that I decided to pursue as a career, as an entrepreneur. So I got into the field of wellness. So I ended up starting my naturopathic consultation. I ended up about a year later, I started my natural skincare line, which is today called Urban Beauty. And I also opened the first comedic yoga studio in Montreal, which is no longer open, but it was such an experience to just to go through that, to do something that bold and that different was an amazing experience. And today I find myself as the executive director of DESTA. And part of my entrepreneurial journey did put me in connection with quite a few people from DESTA. So it had always been in my radar. And, through my wellness initiatives, I really got to know the co-founder of DESTA, whose name is Scott Simons. And he kept planting this idea in my head, like, oh, you should be a mentor. You should get involved with DESTA. And then at some point it was like, DESTA is looking for an executive director. I'm like, I don't have time for that. How am I going to manage all that? But somehow, when a seed is planted and it's somehow aligned with what it is that you're supposed to be doing, things work themselves out so that it can happen. And 2 years after that conversation, I ended up interviewing with several board members and getting the job. So I've been at DESTA for a year and a half now. And DESTA, let me give you a little bit of background on DESTA. DESTA is an organization, we've been around for almost 15 years. And the work that we do is really focused on bridging gaps for young Black adults who are entering the workforce, who are working to complete their education, who are looking to start a business, and also who are looking to reintegrate into society if they've had issues with the law. So the work we do is focused primarily on Anglophone Black youth because, we have a unique experience here in Quebec where there's the language politics, the language barriers that can come into play as well. So, in addition to the systemic racism that we face as Black people, that's another level of barriers, which, BCRC is very much familiar with because they're in the same line of work. So that's not so much a brief introduction, but that's my introduction.
No, that's perfect, because I was going to ask you anyways to get a little bit deeper into what DESTA does, just in case some of our viewers don't know really much about DESTA. And I find it so amazing that you are able to really support and provide this, this help for youth that may not know where to turn to, or that have already so many barriers on top of the language and the skin color barriers within the Quebec society. So I love what DESTA is doing, and I'm really excited to see what you guys are going to do for the next couple of years. So now I'd just like to maybe briefly go a little deeper around, when you knew that you were not on the right path for you. You mentioned that you had, I guess, a mid-career crisis where you were thinking, yeah, no, this is not for me. I'd just like you maybe to tell us, what did that look like for you? Because I'm thinking that there may be some people in the audience that may feel this way, and I always think that it's so beneficial to hear the different types of experiences. So I'd like to know what it was like for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, when I first started my career in marketing, I loved it. I really loved it. I was passionate about it. I was motivated. I was energized. And then I got to a point where I started feeling disconnected. I started feeling less motivation. I started feeling drained at the end of the day. I started feeling, it eventually, it got to a point where I was experiencing symptoms of anxiety. I wasn't sleeping properly. I was waking up, I was just completely off. And so when I started noticing that, okay, this is affecting me physically, I knew I had to do something. And at first it was just, okay, I'm going to go. I had a friend at the time in Trinidad. I'm like, I'm going to go spend a few months in Trinidad and just take a break. But I realized, like, once I thought that, I was like, I don't think I'm going to come back. Or if I come back, I'm not going to be in the same place, or I'm not going to be the same person. And indeed, that trip allowed me some space to heal, because I needed some healing. And in doing so, I realized, you know what, there's something else I want to do with my life. There's another aspect of my life that I want to put energy into. And so really, I would say, there were physical symptoms for me that were an indicator.
Thank you so much. I think it's so important to be aware, right, of where our heads is at, and to not be always in conflict with what our head thinks and what our heart wants. So I think this was a perfect example of this. So thank you for telling us what resilience could look like and what it means to really go inwards, to listen to what we want to do to have a more, I guess, impactful and fruitful life at the end. Or we hope so anyways. I guess in the same line, you mentioned a little bit, about the triggers around language and systemic racism for the Black youth, the Black Anglophone youth, I should say. And since you dived into the wellness sphere, and we hear so much about how rest is an act of resistance, especially for Black people. Can you maybe tell us your point of view in terms of how wellness and rest play into Black well-being and mental health?
Yeah, such an important question. I think it's obviously so important for everyone, every human being, the way, we're physiologically designed to have periods of activity and periods of rest. And that needs to be balanced. And if it's not balanced, we're going to get sick. It's going to somehow manifest into some type of illness, right? Now, add on top of that additional stressors that, Black people have to go through. it becomes even more important. And I think the irony here is that as a community, we are the least likely to take care of ourselves. This is changing, but in the recent past, we are the least likely to take care of ourselves, and we are the ones who need it. I don't want to say most, but we do need it more because of everything that we're facing. So it's really important because, when you look at this society, this modern society, it's very fabricated, it's very unnatural. And, for us to operate within it, we lose a lot of our well-being. And so if you're not proactive about it, it becomes very damaging to, like you said, your mental health, your physical health, and it's going to start to manifest. And we see that in the community. We see high levels of lifestyle diseases. We see high levels of mental illness that the community is just now starting to get comfortable talking about. But it's even a stigma within our community, to talk about mental illness. It's really something. So we have to be proactive about it. It's something that, I feel very strongly about. A lot of the work that I've done has been to bring wellness to marginalized communities, specifically Black communities, specifically Black women. Because I think, when you look at who are the least likely to take care of themselves, it's Black women. And we have to look out for ourselves because, modern society is not really going to do that for us. So yeah, I feel very strongly about that.
Yes, thank you. Like the previous guest talked a little bit about nap, rest, and she referenced the nap ministry on Instagram, and I thought it was very interesting how in the professional world we tend to really think about the meritocracy of hard work, but without necessarily thinking about, oh well, if you don't take care of yourself, how can you show up to the best and fullest of your potential, right? So thank you for offering some of this insight. Now, well, I think everybody knows now you've done so many different things in so many different parts, like on the I guess on the radar. So being a multifaceted professional as you are, can you tell us a little bit about how would you say your experiences shaped and prepared you for what the world has to offer? And as well, how do you reconcile your different expertise to be who you are right now?
That's a good question. It's a question that I get a lot as well. I think it does sometimes get difficult to navigate different spaces, wearing different hats. But in terms of reconciling all of the different things that I do, the common denominator is me. So in terms of me being able to reconcile it, it's fairly easy for me because these are all aspects of myself that I'm sharing through my work. But I think for others, it may be difficult in the sense that, especially within the system or within systems, we tend to be boxed in, or we tend to want to box people in or put people in categories. For the most part, to make our own brains comfortable and to be able to place things. So I think it's actually harder for other people than it is for me. I would say the difficulty for me comes in just being able to, get many things done, multitask, and be able to operate in different types of spaces, because there's an adaptability that's required with that. And sometimes that becomes tiring. In terms of my experiences and how my diverse experiences have shaped or have prepared me for the world, I think, starting from a young age, my family has moved around. So I've lived in many different places. I've been exposed to many different cultures, many different ways of doing things. And so that's always been a part of me. And I think when we talk about adaptability, for some people, it's more difficult because it may not come as naturally to them. But I think for me, from the age of 5, 6 years old, I was constantly adapting to different environments. I was constantly observing different environments and taking things in. And, you know, whether I realize it or not, all of those things have shaped me, have made me who I am, have become strengths, perhaps weaknesses, but all of those experiences have shaped me. And I think what I appreciate most about those experiences is my ability to adapt, my ability to face challenges and not necessarily be intimidated by certain situations. And I think, you know, having a diversity of experiences will give you that. So I'm grateful for that.
This is so true. Adaptability right now is so important. The world is changing so fast. So I'm pretty sure that this is going to be soon a skill that's going to be required on many resumes. That's for sure. If I twist it, well, not really twist it, but if I turn the question around a little bit and focus more on the fact that you are a Black woman, in your eyes, what are the strengths attached to being a Black woman in the society? And well, obviously, we all know the obstacles, but for you particularly, what are the obstacles that you face daily in your line of work?
Good question. We'll start with the strengths. I think I have a platform also called Black Women Rise, and it's specifically for that. It's to celebrate the strengths and the accomplishments and the magic of Black women. And I think there's definitely something very particular about what we bring to the table. It's not necessarily something that can be described, but I can talk about these events that we have when we bring all these Black women together, the vibe, the energy, it's definitely something. I think our strength really lies in our ancestors, in everything that we've been through as a people, as a gender. Our strength comes from that because, you know, overcoming adversity makes you stronger. You know, it's not to say that we want to have all these things to overcome or these challenges, but they do make us stronger. And I think being a Black woman is really the epitome of strength, the epitome of resilience. And that's pretty much what I can say about that. In terms of having to overcome obstacles, I can speak for myself. You know, I still to this day, despite everything that I've proven in my career, I still find myself in meetings, in boardrooms where, you know, I'll say something, it doesn't get heard. Like there's like a blockage when it comes to it being heard. And, you know, oftentimes I'll say something and then someone will say the same exact thing. Someone who doesn't look like me will say the same exact thing and it gets heard and it's like congratulated. And I'm just like, I just said that. But there's still this blockage when it comes to how we're perceived as Black women, especially in positions of leadership or in spaces of power. There's this blockage, and it's, you know, when you look at how Black women are portrayed in the mainstream media, it's not really surprising because we're not portrayed as intelligent, we're not portrayed as leaders. We're not portrayed, you know, we're over-sexualized. Look at the music industry now. It's like, you know, I'm just thinking of this amazing Montreal poet, Rowan Higgins. I saw her do a poem 2 nights ago on a live. And I'm just like, man, this woman is amazing. And there's so many amazing spoken word artists. And what you're seeing, you know, what our young people are seeing in music is like, why are we even valuing this type of thing? You know, so it's not those people who actually have something to say, those women who actually have something to say that are put at the forefront. Mm-hmm. It's really, you know, those who are really bringing us down, perpetuating these stereotypes that are absolutely not true, but that make it difficult for the rest of us to be in these spaces and to be taken seriously, to be respected. You know, so it's a big block. It's still a very big block. I have to work very hard, until people get to know me. People are very skeptical just by, because I'm a Black woman. I look younger than I am. So people are like, what does this girl know? So it's definitely something that I still have to overcome. I still struggle with, but I definitely react to it in a different way than I used to, because I used to fight a lot. I used to be like, hear me and I'm here. But now I'm much more calm about it. Like my work will speak for itself. It'll take the time, that people need to catch up and notice and recognize, but it's not for me to push and fight. It's like my work speaks for itself. So
that is so true. Your work speak for itself. And I really love how you said that, Black women are the epitome of strength and resilience. It is quite fascinating, and I resonate with you on so many levels with what you said. To a point, but I don't know if you feel the same way or at some point in your career, but whenever I sign an email or if I'm in front of someone, I'm always going to bring up my diplomas in a very casual way, just to say, hey, I actually have this and this. Or in my email signature, I always put like my 2 masters, for example, just so that people really have to see the value, whereas I should not have to do it, right? And I feel like this is something that you have to deal with, especially being the executive director of DESTA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's really not easy. I mean, any woman who's in a leadership position, any Black woman who's in a leadership position knows. They know.
Yeah.
It takes a toll on us. It absolutely takes a toll on us. But
and you think that sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just saying it's worth it. It's worth the challenges, because we're in a position to make a difference. So
yeah, no, definitely. Thank you. If we switch it to again, the workspace per se, now that you've been in leadership position for quite some time, but when you are looking to hire someone, what are the top 3 qualities that you're looking for in the CV, in the interviews? Since I'm because of the landscape that you work in, but also for the audience that is participating today.
That's a good question. I think I look for self-motivation. Self-motivation is very, very important. Someone who's passionate about what it is that I'm going to be hiring them to do. I also look for, if someone is strong in the areas where I know that I'm weak, I like that type of balance and compatibility. I think someone also who's able to think outside of the box is important, because I'm a big proponent of, the status quo is not where we want to be. We want to bring change. We want to bring evolution. And so, I don't look for people who are going to think like, the majority of the others around me. I like people who are able to think outside of the box, and who have an authenticity and an honesty about them. I think it's very important to be able to be yourself. And honesty becomes very, very important.
Yeah, I love that. Authenticity and honesty. It is true that the way that a system is built, it doesn't allow us to be our true self all the time. Like yesterday, I was facilitating a session with Montreal en Action, and there was those 3 young men, black men and multiracial men, from the Bout du Monde collective. And they're 15 years old, right? And they were already sharing how they don't feel that they can be their authentic self most of the time because of the way they dress, because of the way they look. And already at that age, they are aware of the barriers that it will bring for them in the future. But they were displaying such a fire and an elegance in the way they were expressing themselves and what are their future plans. It was really beautiful to see. So, hearing leaders in the workforce like you who are looking for this authenticity to shine is really inspiring. So I guess in line with what I just said, what would be your advice for Black youth in regards to their career choices and opportunities? What would be one or two things that you would tell them when they come to you for advice?
Definitely not to limit yourself in any way, because although you may see obstacles all around you, there are always ways to overcome those obstacles. And there are always people who can help you to overcome those obstacles. So, don't limit yourself. Don't think that, oh, I would love to do this, but it's not for me. That's primary, is like, you can be anything, you can do anything. And there is support and there are resources out there. So, I always try to encourage youth to really identify what it is that they connect to, and not be afraid to go for it, and not be afraid to take those steps. And even if it looks overwhelming, we're here. You have so many community organizations that are here to help specifically Black youth to achieve things. You have, I think as a Black community, we say that our networks are maybe not as strong, but I'm seeing this change so much. Like in the past, I'd say, 8 to 10 years, this has changed incredibly. We have strong networks. We have amazing people doing amazing things in Montreal. So, there are always ways to overcome barriers. So don't ever limit yourself.
I think someone gave me this great advice. I don't know if you're familiar with Ron Finley. He's coined the gangster gardener of LA.
I love that.
He's really cool. Like, everybody should check him out, Ron Finley. And what he did is that he transformed those food deserts in LA into community gardens, and he's pretty big in this space. And one of the things that he told me when I saw him, he was like, "Don't ever shrink yourself." And I thought that this was so powerful, especially for for Black people, for Black women, for Black youth, for whoever is at a point where they're looking to where they can fit in and what they can do with their potential. I thought this was wonderful, and it's so aligned with what you just said. So thank you. So I have two last questions for you. The time went by so fast.
Flying by.
I know. That's what happens when you have great conversations.
Exactly. I agree.
So if you could start all over again at any point in your path, in your journey, would you do something differently or not? And if you would, what would you do differently?
It's so tempting to say yes, but I'm going to say no, only because, I accept where I am. I accept what I've been through. I accept that all of those things have shaped who I am. And I don't know who I would be if I did something differently. So no, I wouldn't change anything. I think, for sure there have been challenging times. There have been great times, but you need both. You need both to evolve. And so I wouldn't change anything.
Love that. And my last question, one of my personal favorite, if someone, so a mentee, a former employee, someone who is typically younger than you, if someone was reading your bio in 10 years, what would you want it to say?
That's a good question, because I always have trouble writing bios, and I always find them so like, oh, this is all the things I've done, Yeah. But I think I would love for it to say, or to demonstrate the ways in which I've positively impacted people. So whether it's like 2 or 3 testimonials that demonstrate how something that I've done or something that I've said or some project has positively impacted someone, I think that's really meaningful. And I had I mentioned my yoga studio that was around for only a few years, but I still get messages from my old yoga students telling me, you know, just the most impactful things, like telling me how I opened a path for them, or I opened, you know, and I know it's not me doing it. It's them being able to find themselves, but through something that I was able to trigger in them or inspire in them. And I think for me, that's the work that's meaningful, is to be able to accomplish that with people. So I hope to be able to continue to do that, and have a bio that has, you know, some testimonials in there that say things like that, like, you know, this woman has been a positive impact in my life. So that's what I hope.
Love that. And I can testify that I know, like, you're such a light to anyone who meets you. Like, we can literally see that there's an actual light, like you're like, you glow. There's just something about you. So I really hope that that you'll be able to realize everything that's meant for you. But I have no doubts that you'll have many more of these beautiful testimonies. So,
Thank you.
well, thank you so much, Kassandra. Like, I wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing, because
Yeah.
Julie is actually, her company is a valued partner of DESTA. I just want to say that Julie does phenomenal work in the justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion field. And I've had the opportunity to attend one of her workshops with one of our corporate partners. And it's amazing how you're able to bring in a short time, you're able to bring an awareness of, you know, the racial biases that a lot of people carry, that a lot of people are afraid to face. And I think the work that you do is so, so, so important, especially when we're talking about, you know, this ambiance that we're in, where everyone is, you know, Black Lives Matter. We want, you know, we're down for the Black community, but people really need to put their you know, their actions behind it. And the work that you do is phenomenal. And we're, you know, DESTA is honored to have you as a partner, and I look forward to working with you more. So I just wanted to say that.
The honor is all mine. Thank you so much, Kassandra,
Thank you.
for this little shout out. I think you can see, everyone, that we have a lot of mutual respect for each other, and yeah, I'm excited to keep working with DESTA in the future. So yeah, this is it, folks, on this Friday at noon. So thank you once again, Kassandra, for these invaluable insights, tips, advices, and just a little glimpse into your life, and your thoughts. It was really beautiful. So thank you once again, and we shall see each other very soon.
Yes, thank you. And thank you to BCRC for organizing this. This has been amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all your words, Kassandra and Julie, for hosting this series. We've had everyone that we've had here has been so, so amazing and so knowledgeable. And I just want to remind everyone who's watching that this event is part of the Employee ESBC event that we're having on March 10th. And its aim is to match English-speaking Black Quebecois with employers in tech, finance, healthcare, and public administration. So if you're an English-speaking Black person who's looking for a job, submit your resume on our website and we'll be able to match you with an employer. And again, thank you so much, Kassandra, for being here. I love DESTA, and Julie, you're amazing. And yeah, I hope everyone has a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you.